Yes, indeed, folks, you tuned into Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. I believe it is time that we look in the mailbag to find out whether or not any of you have managed to come up with something remotely tangible. It's the illusion of choice! Yes, it is. Now, there is one email I would like to pick for this week's illusion of choice. It's quite good, and I think it rose to a number of points that hit quite close to home, and I'd love to address them, so here we go. Hey TB, Nightweaver here. Is WoW getting boring faster and faster? After each expansion, are people getting bored quicker than the last expansion? Take, for example, Vanilla WoW that lasted for goddamn ages. I was still playing and having fun the day before BC. Well, I did have breaks, I wasn't playing all the time. Then comes Burning Crusade, and I had a lot of fun, and yet, even with having loads more to do, I still got bored. Wrath comes in a few weeks after Nax gets cleared, and I'm bored. And Old War comes along, and I'm having a blast, but how long will it last? What does Blizzard have to do, or will they do anything? Good question. Right. Okay. First things first. Comparing Vanilla WoW to expansion WoWs is an unfair comparison, and here's why. Vanilla WoW obviously lasted way longer than any expansion would. Why? Well, let's face it, one had 60 levels of content and one had 10. Yes? I mean, this should be relatively obvious for most people. There was a ton of leveling content, and not only that, but the game was brand spanking new, and there was a ton of things to explore and discover. People didn't rattle through raid content as fast as they do now. People are more experienced and better at the game. It's like Blizzard can't really design something that Insidia can't kill in a couple of days. Yeah? They just can't. The game's just not set up that way. These players have reached perhaps the apex of their potential and will kill anything that isn't artificially cock-blocked in one way or the other. Or should I say, El Polo Grande blocked. PvP's kind of the same. We used to PvP, you remember? We used to PvP for the sake of doing it. The Hillsbrad battles, oh yes. Taran Mill versus Southshore. You look back on that, and it was the stupidest thing. Nobody would ever do that now, and they don't. Why? Because there was no point. But, at that point, when people were like, oh, I'm level 38, I want to go fight people, yeah. I remember back in the day when I was actually fearful of being ganked, and I would look out and I'd be very careful. It's like, oh, it's red, it's 3 levels higher than me, run away! And it was kind of an adrenaline rush, not anymore. No, it's irrelevant. WoW was new and shiny back then. The expansions added more of the same because that's what people said they wanted. And of course, with people not usually knowing exactly what they want, you get into the situation where they say, well, I wanted this, but now I maybe don't like it so much. You know, I probably don't enjoy raiding as much as I used to. Why? Because I've done so much of it. Games are finite. MMOs generally have the most lifespan, and you certainly expect it if you're going to pay a monthly fee for it, but at the end of the day, you're still eventually going to get sick and leave. Simple as that. So, what do you do about it? What does Blizzard have to do about it? Well, you can innovate. Not the Druid kind of innovate, I actually mean get a little bit of innovation in, you know, change it round, make something new, a different experience. But here's the thing. WoW has been successful on the basis of what's in it right now, not on the basis of what might come some point in the distant future. That's its business model. That's how the game was designed. That's why it did well. So, if you're asking Blizzard to make a major U-turn in its design methodology and put in something brand new that is risky, that people may not like, then I think you're maybe stretching the bounds of reality there just a smidge. They're probably not going to do that. Yes, they're putting some new stuff. Like Wintergrasp is perhaps one of the biggest innovations. But at the end of the day, is it really? Not really. It's an outdoor battleground with siege vehicles. Now, they've been promising siege vehicles since like the first few months of WoW. It was one of the massive great, this is in development kind of things. And eventually it arrived. But think about something completely new. Let's think about it, right. Here's one for you. New expansion is in the middle of the sea, yeah? And they open up the area around the Maelstrom and they have a bunch of naval stuff, yeah? Lots of little, I can never pronounce the name for those tiny little islands. Archipelago. Yes, that's it. I'm very good. Archipelago. Lots of little archipelago, and guilds can own these archipelago. They can actually get desert island of their very own and build stuff on it and do all kind of crazy stuff. Maybe farm rare coconuts. And guilds can own ships, and they can go around in the ships, they can get various different sizes of ships and have naval battles and take over other people's ships and all that kind of stuff. And while that sounds like a great idea perhaps to you and me, I can bet that a large swathe of the WoW community would absolutely bloody hate it. Because it's something completely new. Indeed, there is an element of loss there that was not previously in the game. The ability to lose something that you own, that could infuriate a large selection of the player base. A large swathe, indeed. And that's unfortunate because, I play Eve. So I know what losing things is like. I know, I lost... Good lord, what did I lose? I lost a Prophecy Battlecruiser. No, it was a Harbinger, actually. Harbinger Battlecruiser, full named Tech 1 fitted. Now, bear in mind, this thing was probably worth about 180 million. That's not a lot to the long-time player, but I'd only been playing 2 months at this point, and that was a lot of money. I lost it because I decided to fly into an area that got me killed. Think about what would happen in WoW if that actually occurred. The riots on the forums. End of the day, this is a Care Bear game, and that actually restricts what Blizzard can do. Now, I do hope that they actually go and do something like that with the whole naval warfare, being able to take over. Having something that's not static within the world would be nice. But it's a risky venture. And you've got to understand it when Blizzard says, oh, I'm maybe not so into taking something, I don't know, it's risky, we might end up annoying the player base. You don't want to do that. It's not a very good idea. Now, certain games last longer than others. The developers of EVE Online, CCP, very accurately described the difference between WoW and EVE. Yeah? WoW is a theme park. EVE is a playground. Yeah? In a playground, you make a lot of your own fun. They set up all of the stuff, and you make your own fun within that area. Now, with WoW, WoW's basically a set of rides. Yeah? You go up for the ride, you get on the ride, or you play the game, you get your prize, and you do that over and over again, because the rides are fun. But occasionally, and indeed after a certain amount of time, those rides may get boring. So what do you do as a theme park owner? You introduce new rides, and that keeps people coming back. But eventually, people are going to stop coming to your theme park. Eventually. It's always got a bit of a shelf life. Whereas playgrounds, you always go back to a playground, because think of all the things you can do within the playground. You're not limited. You're limited only by your own imagination. Yes. Sounds like the back of a cereal packet. So what can they do? Well, they can continue down this course, because, to be honest, it comes down to the fact that Blizzard have a revolving door policy when it comes to their player base. There's a core of players that will just keep playing, but the rest of them are kind of like fair weather players. I'm a fair weather player. I'll keep coming back, but eventually I may leave for something better, like Star Trek Online, for instance. I'm a massive Star Trek nerd, and this idea of having a ship and flying it around, yeah, I don't care if that game is absolutely freaking terrible. I will play it. I will probably move to that game. It is very, very likely. So yes, there will be a Star Trek radio show of some description, and I will enjoy doing it very much. But that's way in the future. But can WoW hold my interest? Yeah, maybe. Coming up with the same raid content over and over again, and they're not really. They're providing lots of different variations on it, but raiding is still raiding is still raiding, and some people do get tired of it. I have less patience for raiding than I used to. I used to wipe in Molten Core for 8 hours and I was okay with it, but now if I wipe in a 4-hour run of Ulduar, I get frustrated and annoyed, and I wish I wasn't there. So do Blizzard really have to do something about that? Perhaps. Perhaps they do have to introduce a new kind of experience. Now, whether or not it's a hybrid between PvE and PvP, or they just come up with something entirely new, I don't know. But I do have the feeling that Wrath is going to be a very testing time for Blizzard, particularly with a lot of competition around, and players now having been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and having seen all of this stuff, and realising that, yeah, you know what? We've done it all before. And it doesn't matter if they bring the same thing with a different coat of paint, we're still going to finish it quicker and be sick of it quicker. And that's true. Can they do anything about it? I don't know, but what I think the player base has to realise is that they should stop expecting Blizzard to provide a game for the next 20 or 30 years. It's not going to happen. Eventually, you will get sick of the game, and it's not necessarily their fault. Yes, sometimes they will make a change that negatively impacts your play experience, and in that case, I suggest you go shout out from the rooftops. in a constructive manner. That's the best way to do it. And for God's sake, don't call out Ghost Crawler. The amount of times Ghost Crawler believes this, get him fired. Shut up. Seriously, Ghost Crawler's the best thing that happened to your forum. Consider yourself lucky that you have him. We don't have anyone on Europe that does that kind of thing. Please present your comments constructively. You can do it with a bit of passion, you can get your emotions in there a bit, but don't let it affect your judgment. But eventually you're going to have to accept that sometimes it's not Blizzard's fault and that you're just done. Yeah? It happens with single-player games all the time. I look at all the games on my shelf that I'm just done with. Do I blame the developers for that? No. I got my money's worth out of it. I continue to get my money's worth out of WoW, but when you stop getting your money's worth, you should stop playing. It's as simple as that. There's no reason to continue to play for a game that you do not enjoy. But then again, you can't expect Blizzard to always cater to you 100% of the time. It doesn't happen. It's a balance between the two. And no, you don't have to be playing WoW for the next 10 years. Seriously, find a new hobby. My name is Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. It is time for shout-outs. Please, please, please email thebelllock@gmail.com or PM me on IRC, or you can send me a tweet on twitter.com/TotalBiscuits. Get your shout-outs in for the last few minutes of the show. Someone did it preemptively 18 minutes ago. Smart guy. But he has a Pokemon avatar. Not so smart. His name is Zard9. He says this: shout out to Belfadin of Boulder Fist US. Which one? I'm sure there are quite a few. I can imagine. So yes. Get your shout-outs into me. Please name it Picard, please. No, I'm not naming my Star Trek Online show Picard, please. That's terrible. I'll probably come up with some clever pun involving subspace. No. Or Deflector-dish. Yeah, let's do that. Deflector-dish. Everybody loves it. Now, Akis Work asked me to give a shout-out. And he also came out with a very nice addition to my analogy. The theme park rides always break down. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, shout out to Akis Work and indeed the entirety of the WoW Ace channel. That's the mod developers. They're on irc.freenode.org or .com. I can't remember which. I'm on calvino.freenode.net. So yeah, they're over there, so shout out to the entire channel and keep up the good work with your fantastic mods. I would like to send a shout out to the guild Chikara and the player Theron on Frostmain EU. That's from Merceness. And a shout out to Bear What 8 Slanic, to any fellow Cambridge students cramming an exam term. Seriously, Bear What 8 Slanic is a Cambridge student? What the hell? That's quite surprising. A shout out to VOA for being so damn easy, even after Emelon, free conquest badges, thanks. That's from C. Yeah. That's terrible. I hate Emelon. I hate the entirety of the entire thing. Ugh. It's a scum pit. Can I get a shout out to everyone who takes part in deleting their Deadly Boss Mods folder? Yeah! Fight the power. I can't stand people who sell out to gold sellers. That's for Zifori, 80 Belf Paladin Winterhoof US. A shout out to myself, Stormtamer, and myself, Stormtamer. That's from Stormtamer. Yes, if you haven't listened to the 4th anniversary Blue Police show, you should. It's on the archive. You can get it on iTunes or on WCRadio.com. We had 7 people in the studio. It was kind of silly. Oh dear. Shout out to Exurion, a good friend of mine. A shout out to Corticus, the most awesome laser chicken of Dragonmore, and a shout out to Kebab. Kebab? Seriously? TB, love the show today. How about a shout out to my guild, Shadow Wolves on Doomhammer US. Thanks, that's from Falks. Shout out to giving a shout out to Orlon, please, on Burning Steps EU for being an awesome druid and not deleting his character. And a shout out to me for finally being finished with my SQA exams. 1 week of free time. Ho! Yes, I would agree. Exams suck. I'm glad I don't have to do them. Can I give a shout out to Arik? What the hell is that? Some kind of crazy RP name. Arikatoyan on Rune Totem EU. About turning 80. Thanks for the great show, TB. And a shout out to all the geeks who play and listen at work. That's from Drago Ski. And a shout out to the 7th Circle on Malfurium US for their favourite Red Pally, not PhD. And also a last shout out to LA Lacta Est of the Earthen Ring US. That's from Lua Gagliari, who was complaining that I insulted my listeners earlier. Yes, that's what happens. I'm not a very nice person, folks. Ladies and gents, I am out of here. Please, by all means, tune into the show, Rawcast. Rawcast.com. Go check it out. Tomorrow at 2200 British time or 5 o'clock in the afternoon EST. It will be fantastic. We are supporting the charities. Child's Play, as it happens. We'll have Charitable Dave, the winner of the charity auction, on there. And trust me that it's going to be very, very amusing. That I can guarantee. I get to cut loose because they don't have the same rules that I imposed on this station. I get to do things like swear and say dirty filthy innuendos regarding El Polo Grande. I'm out of here, folks. My name's been Total Biscuit. Check out the rest of our shows on WCRadio.com. Rate and review us using iTunes. And if you like what we're doing here, we have a donate button. Your spare dollars are always appreciated to help us run our very high bandwidth server. Thanks for listening. You, as always, have been a stellar audience. Tune in to Wild Things Considered, which is coming up at 7 p.m. EST. That's midnight GMT on WCRadio.com. Good night.